The rain fell hard on the dig site. Park Jisoo wiped the water from her face and looked down at the hole her team had made. They had been digging for 3 months. Every day, she woke up before the sun and worked until her hands bled. The others thought she was crazy. Maybe she was 800 years ago. The sky had been full of ships. Jisoo's grandmother used to tell her stories about those days. Strange beings had come to Earth. They looked at humans like scientists look at insects. They studied them. They tested them. And then, one day, they left. They took everything with them. Every piece of their technology. Every map to the stars. They erased Earth from their records and never came back. Humanity almost died after that. Wars broke out. Cities burned. People forgot how to build the things they once had. It took centuries for them to stand again. Now, in the year 2847, humans had rebuilt much of what they lost. But they never forgot what happened. They never forgot that the galaxy had thrown them away like garbage. Jisoo believed there was something buried here. Old records spoke of a crash. A ship that fell from the sky during the evacuation. The government said it was just a story. But Jisoo found patterns in the old texts. She found coordinates. And she started digging. Her radio crackled. The voice of Kim Do-eun came through, weak and tired. He was 73 years old and had spent his whole life studying the aliens. He was the reason Jisoo started this search. Anything yet? He asked. Not yet, she said. But we're close. I can feel it. Do-eun laughed softly. You sound like me when I was young. Full of hope. Full of fire. Jisoo smiled. She respected the old man more than anyone. He had lost his family, his career, and his health chasing this dream. Everyone called him a fool, but he never stopped believing. The next morning, Jisoo's shovel hit metal. Her heart stopped. She dropped to her knees and began brushing away the dirt with her hands. The metal was smooth. Too smooth. It was not made by humans. She called her team over, and together they worked through the day and night. By sunrise, they had uncovered it. A ship. It was small, about the size of a house. Its surface was black and shiny, without a single scratch. It looked like it had crashed yesterday, not 8 centuries ago. Jisoo stood before it, her body shaking. This was real. This was proof. Commander Lee Yuna arrived that afternoon with 50 soldiers. The military had been watching the dig site for weeks. Yuna was a tall woman with cold eyes and a sharp voice. She did not believe in fairy tales. She believed in security. This area is now under military control, she said. No one touches that ship without my permission. Jisoo stepped forward. I found it. I have the right to study it. Yuna looked at her for a long moment. You have the right to follow orders. Nothing more. But Do-eun had friends in high places. After 2 days of arguments, they reached an agreement. Jisoo could study the ship, but Yuna would watch everything she did. The door to the ship opened easily, as if it had been waiting for them. Inside, the air was cold and dry. Lights flickered on as they walked through the narrow halls. Everything was alien. The walls curved in ways that hurt the eyes. The symbols on the panels made no sense, but Do-eun recognized them. This is a diplomatic courier ship, he said, his voice shaking. It carried messages between star systems. High priority. Very fast. They found the control room at the center of the ship. A large screen covered one wall. Jisoo touched it, and suddenly the room filled with light. Images appeared. Sounds. A recording. The being on the screen was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 eyes. It spoke in a language that sounded like music. But at the bottom of the screen, words appeared in an old human language. A translation. Final report to the Galactic Council, the being said. The human project has been terminated. All contact severed. All records erased. The species known as humanity is now classified as non-viable. This decision was made for the safety of the galactic community. Jisoo felt anger rise in her chest. Non-viable. They called her people non-viable. They threw them away like broken tools. But then the recording continued. Personal note, the alien said. Its four eyes looked sad. I do not agree with this decision. The humans are not non-viable. They are the opposite. They learn too fast. They adapt too quickly. They ask questions that we have not asked in 10,000 years. The Council fears them. Not because they are weak. Because they are strong. Because they could become stronger than us. I believe this is a mistake. I believe we will regret this. The recording ended. The room went silent. Darwin sat down slowly, tears running down his old face. They were afraid of us, he whispered. They did not abandon us because we were nothing. They abandoned us because we were too much. Eunice stood very still. Her cold eyes were now filled with something else. Something that looked like fire. Jisoo turned to the navigation panel. The star maps were still there. Old, but complete. Every planet. Every system. Every route through the galaxy. She looked at Dawn. She looked at Yuna. And she said the words that would change everything. We're going back. The ship rose through the clouds and kept going. Jisoo watched Earth grow smaller through the window. The blue and green ball that had been humanity's prison for 800 years was now just a dot in the darkness. She was alone. That was the plan. One ship, one human. Less chance of being noticed. The journey would take 11 months. 11 months of silence. 11 months of empty space. Jisoo had prepared for this. She had trained her body and her mind. But nothing could truly prepare a person for being alone among the stars. The ship's computer had a voice. Jisoo called her Bora. The name meant purple in the old language, and Jisoo liked the way it sounded. Bora was made from alien code and human programming. She was strange. Sometimes she spoke like a machine. Sometimes she spoke like a friend. You should sleep, Bora said on the first night. Your heart rate is elevated. Your stress levels are high. I just left my entire planet behind, Jisoo replied. I think a little stress is normal. Perhaps. But stress reduces efficiency. And you will need to be efficient. Jisoo smiled. You're not very good at comfort, are you? Bora was quiet for a moment. I am learning. The months passed slowly. Jisoo studied the alien language every day. She watched the recordings from the ship's database. She learned about the Galactic Council. 12 species ruled the galaxy. They had been in power for over 20,000 years. In all that time, nothing had changed. No new ideas. No new discoveries. They had found a system that worked, and they held on to it with an iron grip. Humans had scared them because humans never stopped moving. Never stopped asking. Never stopped pushing. The Council saw this as a threat. So they cut humanity off and hoped it would die. They were wrong. In the 6th month, Jisoo reached the edge of Council space. Her sensors picked up a station floating near a dead star. It was old and dirty, held together with patches and prayers. This was the territory of the Hollow Ones, a species of traders who lived outside Council law. Jisoo brought the ship in slowly. Her heart was beating fast. This would be her first contact with alien life. 800 years since any human had spoken to another species. She did not know what to expect. The station was crowded. Beings of all shapes and sizes moved through the narrow halls. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had too many eyes. They all stopped and stared as Jisoo walked past. She knew she looked strange to them. Soft skin, 2 eyes, too many fingers, A creature with long arms and a flat face approached her. Its voice was like wind through dead leaves. "You are not registered. What species are you?" Jisoo took a deep breath. "I am human." The creature froze. Its tiny eyes went wide. Around them, the noise of the station died. Everyone was looking now. Everyone was listening. "Human," the creature repeated. "The burning ones, the lost species. You are supposed to be dead." "We're not dead," Jisoo said. "We never died. We were waiting." The creature stepped back. Fear and wonder mixed on its face. It turned and ran, shouting in a language Jisoo did not understand. Within minutes, a crowd had gathered around her. They kept their distance, like she was a dangerous animal. An old trader pushed through the crowd. Its skin was like cracked leather, and its eyes glowed faint yellow. It looked at Jisoo with something that might have been respect. "I am Hollow One," it said. "I have lived 300 years. I have heard stories of your kind. We called you the Burning Ones because you never stopped. You burned through every problem, every challenge, every wall put before you. The council erased you because they could not control you." Jisoo listened carefully. "What else do the stories say?" The old trader smiled, showing rows of tiny teeth. "They say you could bond with anyone, make friends with enemies, turn strangers into family. The council rules through division. They keep species apart, suspicious of each other. But humans connected, humans united. That was your true crime." Jisoo felt something warm in her chest. Pride. Her people had been thrown away, but they had left a mark. They had become a legend. "The council still watches," the trader warned. "They have sensors everywhere. If they find you, they will come. They will not make the same mistake twice." Jisoo nodded. She had expected this. She walked back to her ship and sat in the pilot chair. Bora was waiting. "You are going to do something dangerous," Bora said. It was not a question. "Yes," Jisoo replied. "I'm going to send a message. To everyone. The council will detect it immediately. I know." Jisoo opened the communication system. She took a deep breath and pressed the button. "This message is for the Galactic Council and every species that can hear it. My name is Park Jisoo. I am human. 800 years ago, you abandoned my people. You erased our planet from your maps. You left us to die alone. But we did not die. We survived. We rebuilt. We remembered. And now I am here. Not to beg. Not to hide. I am here to tell you the truth. We are coming back. All of us. And this time, you will not be able to look away." She ended the transmission. The station erupted with noise, alarms, shouts, panic. Bora's voice was calm. "The message has been sent. Council ships are being dispatched. We should leave." Jisoo smiled and started the engines. "Let them come. Let them see what they threw away." The ship launched into the darkness, carrying the first human voice the galaxy had heard in 8 centuries. Behind her, the message spread like fire through dry grass. To every station, every planet, every hidden corner of space, humanity was no longer a ghost story. Humanity was awake. The message changed everything. Within days, Jisoo's words had reached every corner of the galaxy. Some species celebrated. They danced in the streets of their worlds and spoke the name human, like it was a prayer. Others locked their doors and hid. The Burning Ones had returned, and they did not know what that meant. The council tried to control the story. They said it was a trick, a fake. No human could have survived. But too many people had seen Jisoo at the trading station. Too many witnesses had heard her speak. The truth was spreading faster than the council could stop it. Jisoo did not run far. She found a small planet on the edge of Council space called Myra. It was a place for refugees and outcasts. The perfect place to hide. She landed her ship in a valley between two mountains and waited. She did not wait long. 3 weeks after her message, another ship appeared in the sky. It was human. Jisoo watched it land, her heart pounding. The door opened and a man stepped out. He was tall and strong, with scars on his face and hands. His eyes were hard, like stones that had been polished by years of pain. His name was Choi Tae-yang. "I heard your message," he said. "I came as fast as I could." Jisoo could not speak. For months, she had been alone. Now, another human stood before her. She felt tears building in her eyes, but she held them back. "How did you find me?" she asked. Tae-yang smiled, but it was a tired smile. "I followed your signal. Your ship is not as hidden as you think. If I found you, others will too. We need to move." They talked through the night. Tae-yang told her about Earth. After Jisoo left, the world had changed. Her message had woken something in the people. Hope, anger, purpose. The governments were building more ships, training more pilots. Humanity was no longer hiding. It was preparing. "They're afraid of what we might find out here," Tae-yang said. "But they're more afraid of staying in the dark. We've been alone for too long. We need answers." In the morning, they had a visitor. A small being with blue skin and large, curious eyes. It moved carefully, like it was not sure if it should be there. Its name was Nara, and it was a translator. "I came because of your message," Nara said, its voice soft and musical. "I have studied old languages. I know stories about humans. I want to understand." Tae-yang was suspicious. "Why should we trust you?" But Jisoo saw something in Nara's eyes. Loneliness. The same loneliness she had felt for so long. "Because we need friends," Jisoo said. "And friends have to start somewhere." Nara stayed. It helped them understand the galaxy. It explained the politics and the power structures. It told them about the species that lived in fear of the Council and the ones that served it blindly. "The Council has ruled for 20,000 years, Nara said. But it is not strong. It is just old. It survives because no one believes change is possible. Your message made people believe. That is dangerous." Weeks turned into months. Word spread about the two humans hiding on Myra. Other refugees came to see them. They brought food, supplies, and stories. They wanted to touch Jisoo's hands to see if humans were real. Some cried. Some laughed. All of them left with something they had not had before. Hoped out one day, an old being arrived. Its body was covered in gray robes, and its face was hidden in shadows. It walked slowly, like every step was heavy with memory. It introduced itself as Elder Vosk, a member of one of the Council species. Tae-yang reached for his weapon, but Jisoo stopped him. "Why are you here?" she asked. Vosk's voice was deep and sad. "I was there when the vote was taken. 800 years ago. I stood in the Great Hall and watched my colleagues condemn your species to death. I voted against it, but I was in the minority. The decision was made." Jisoo felt her anger rise. "You could have done something. You could have helped us." "Yes," Vosk said. "I could have. I was a coward. I told myself that the decision was made, that fighting would change nothing. I let fear win." The old being lowered its head. "I have lived with that shame ever since. Why are you telling us this?" Tae-yang demanded. Vosk looked up. "Because some of us want to make it right. There are members of the Council species who remember the truth. We are small in number, but we are willing to help. The question is, what do you want?" Jisoo was quiet for a long moment. She thought about Earth. She thought about the centuries of darkness. She thought about all the people who had died never knowing why they were abandoned. "I want justice," she said finally. "But not revenge. I want the galaxy to know the truth. I want the Council to answer for what they did. Not with blood, with words, with proof." Vosk nodded slowly. "Then you must go to Council Prime. You must speak before the Assembly. It will be dangerous. They will try to stop you. They may try to kill you." Taiyang stepped forward. "Let them try." Nara moved to stand beside the humans. Its small body was shaking, but its voice was steady. "I will go with you. You should not face them alone." Jisoo looked at her strange little group. A soldier hardened by suffering. An alien translator searching for meaning. An old politician seeking redemption. And herself, a woman who had dug in the dirt until she found the truth. It was not an army. But it was a beginning. "Then we go to Council Prime," Jisoo said. "And we make them remember what they tried to forget." Council Prime was the heart of everything. A massive station floating at the center of the galaxy, so large it could be seen from 1,000 light years away. 12 great towers rose from its surface, one for each ruling species. Ships moved around it like insects around a hive. This was where power lived. This was where humanity's fate had been decided 8 centuries. Jisoo stood at the window of her small ship and watched as they approached. Her stomach was tight with fear, but her hands were steady. "They're letting us dock," Bora reported. "Diplomatic clearance has been granted." Taiyang checked his weapon for the 10th time. "That seems too easy." Elder Vosk spoke from the shadows. "They want you to come. They believe they can control this. They think if they destroy you here, in front of everyone, the story will die with you." "Then we'll have to make sure the story survives," Jisoo said. They landed in a public dock. Crowds of aliens had gathered, pressing against the barriers to see. Some shouted insults. Some cheered. Most just stared in silence. Guards in silver armor formed a line around the ship, their weapons ready. Jisoo walked out first. The noise of the crowd faded to nothing. Millions of eyes watched her. Cameras broadcast her image across the galaxy. This was the moment. A tall figure approached. It wore the purple robes of the Council's highest officials. Its voice boomed across the dock. "You are Park Jisoo of Earth?" "I am. You have requested the right to speak before the Galactic Assembly. This request is highly irregular. No human has stood before the Council in 800 years. Jisoo lifted her chin. Then its time had changed. The official studied her for a long moment. Then it turned and walked toward the central tower. "Follow." The great hall was larger than any building Jisoo had ever seen. Thousands of delegates filled the seats that rose toward the distant ceiling. Light streamed down from windows made of crystal. At the center of the room, 7 thrones stood on a raised platform. The 7, the leaders of the Council, the ones who had ordered humanity's death. Jisoo walked to the center of the floor. She felt small, alone, but she stood straight and looked up at the thrones. "You come here as an enemy," the first of the 7 said. Its skin was like metal, and its voice was cold. "Your species was declared non-viable. You have no rights here." "I come here as a survivor," Jisoo replied. Her voice echoed through the hall. "My people were not non-viable. We were too alive, too curious, too free. You were afraid of us, so you tried to kill us." Murmurs spread through the crowd. The 7 shifted on their thrones. "These are lies," the second one said. "Propaganda designed to cause unrest. We have no record of any species called humanity ever existing." Jisoo smiled. "Then how do you explain me?" Before the 7 could answer, Jisoo nodded to Nara. The small translator pressed the device in its hand. The lights in the hall flickered. A new image appeared in the air above the assembly. A face. Human. Old and tired, but alive. "My name is Yunmai Rei," the woman in the image said. "I was born on Earth 912 years ago. When the evacuation happened, I was taken. Not killed. Taken. I have been kept in a chamber beneath this very station for 800 years. Awake. Watching. Waiting." The hall exploded with noise. Delegates shouted and pointed. The 7 rose from their thrones. "This is a trick." The third one screamed. "A fake created by enemies of the council." But the image continued. "I am proof that the council lies. I am proof that they feared us so much they kept me alive just to study, just to understand what made us different. I have seen their secret meetings. I have heard their private words. They did not abandon humanity because we were weak. They abandoned us because they knew one day we would come back stronger." Guards rushed toward Jisoo. Taiyang moved to block them, his weapon raised. The hall descended into chaos. But Jisoo did not move. She stood in the center of the storm and spoke in a voice that cut through everything. "You wanted to bury us. You wanted to erase us from history. But we're still here. And now the entire galaxy knows the truth." The first of the 7 pointed at her. "Arrest this creature. Silence these lies." Jisoo shook her head slowly. "It's too late. Every ship, every station, every planet is watching this right now." Nara made sure of it. "You cannot silence a truth that everyone has already heard." She stepped closer to the thrones. The guards hesitated, unsure of what to do. "I have only one question for you," Jisoo said, looking into the eyes of each of the 7. "Why were you so afraid of us?" The silence stretched for eternity. The 7 looked at each other. They looked at the crowd. They had no answer, because the answer would mean admitting everything. Finally, the oldest of the 7 spoke. Its voice was thin and tired. "Because you made others brave," it said. "Because wherever you went, you brought change. You asked questions. You challenged rules. You formed bonds that crossed every boundary we built. We rule through order, through sameness, through fear. And humans do not fear. Not for long. Not forever." Jisoo nodded slowly. "You're right. We don't. And that's why we survived. That's why we came back. And that's why, no matter what you do to me today, you've already lost." The guards surrounded her. But as they led her away, she heard something she had never expected. Applause. It started small. A few delegates clapping. Then more. Then thousands. The sound filled the great hall like thunder. The 7 stood on their thrones, watching their power crumble, and for the first time in 20,000 years, they felt something they had long forgotten. Fear. 1 year had passed since the day Jisoo stood before the council. 1 year since the truth had spread across the galaxy like a sunrise. Nothing would ever be the same. The 7 had fallen. Not through war, not through violence, but through the weight of their own lies. Species that had trusted the council for thousands of years now questioned everything. Old alliances broke. New ones formed. The galaxy was changing, and at the center of that change was a small blue planet that had refused to die. Earth looked different now. Jisoo stood on a hill overlooking the valley where she had found the buried ship. The dig site was gone, replaced by a park filled with flowers from a dozen different worlds. Ships dotted the sky above, coming and going from the new spaceport built on the coast. Some were human. Many were not. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Jisoo turned. Yumare stood beside her, leaning on a wooden cane. The old woman's face was lined with centuries of memory, but her eyes were bright. After her rescue from the council's chambers, she had needed months to recover. But now she walked on Earth's soil every day, as if making up for all the years she had lost. "I never thought I would see this," Murray said softly. "I dreamed of it. In that cold room, for all those centuries, I dreamed of standing in the sun again. I dreamed of hearing human voices. I dreamed of home." Jisoo took the old woman's hand. "You helped make this possible. Your testimony destroyed their lies." Myri shook her head. "You made this possible. You and Taeyang. You were brave enough to come find the truth. I just confirmed it." They walked together through the park. Children played on the grass, their laughter mixing with the calls of strange alien birds that had been brought to Earth as gifts. A group of young humans sat with a delegation of hollow ones, trading stories and teaching each other games. Nara was there too, trying to explain human jokes with limited success. The Free Worlds Alliance had been born 6 months ago. 23 species had joined so far. Not the most powerful ones, not the richest, but the ones that believed in the vision, a galaxy where no one was left behind, where connection mattered more than control. Admiral Kang Siwoo was the commander of Earth's growing fleet. He was young for an admiral, only 40 years old, with a calm voice and steady hands. Jisoo had met him the day she returned to Earth. He had looked at her with eyes full of respect and said only 3 words: "What do you need?" Now his fleet patrolled the space around Earth, not to fight, to protect, and to show the galaxy that humanity was ready. Taeyang had not stayed on Earth. He had taken a small ship and gone searching for other abandoned species. The Council had not only erased humans, there were others. Species that had asked too many questions or grown too fast. Taeyang was determined to find them all. His last message had come from the far edge of the galaxy. "Found another one," he had written. "They call themselves the Quiet Singers. Their planet is a desert now, but they survived. They were waiting for someone to remember them. Tell Earth we're bringing them home." Jisoo smiled when she read those words. Bringing them home. That was what they did now. That was who they were. A ceremony was scheduled for that afternoon. Jisoo had not wanted it. She was not comfortable with crowds or speeches. But the people needed a symbol. They needed to see their ambassador. So she put on the simple gray uniform of her office and went to the great stage that had been built in the capital. Millions watched. On Earth and across the galaxy. Jisoo looked out at the sea of faces, human and alien, and felt something she had never felt before: peace. 848 years ago, she began. A decision was made. The Galactic Council declared humanity non-viable. They erased our planet from the star maps. They cut us off from the rest of the galaxy. They expected us to die. But we did not die. She paused, letting the words settle. We survived the wars that followed. We survived the famines. We survived the long centuries of darkness when the sky was empty and we were alone. We rebuilt our cities. We remembered our history. And we never stopped looking up at the stars. The crowd was silent. Every eye was on her. The council abandoned us because they were afraid. Afraid of how quickly we learned. Afraid of how easily we made friends. Afraid of how stubbornly we refused to give up. They thought fear was strength. They were wrong. She looked toward the sky, where ships from a dozen worlds hung like jewels against the blue. Connection is strength. Understanding is strength. The willingness to reach out. Even when you are afraid. Even when you have been hurt. Even when you have every reason to close your doors and hide. That is the greatest strength of all. Myri was watching from the front row. Her eyes were wet with tears. We are not here for revenge, Jisoo continued. We are not here to conquer or to punish. We are here to invite. Every species in this galaxy, even those who abandoned us, is welcome to join us. Not as subjects, not as servants, as equals, as friends. She raised her hand toward the sky. This is the promise of humanity. We will not leave anyone behind. Not ever again. The galaxy threw us away, but we came back. And we brought something with us that the old council never understood. She smiled. Hope. The applause began slowly, then built to a roar. Humans and aliens cheered together. Children waved flags. Somewhere in the crowd, Nara was crying. That night, Jisoo stood alone on the hill again. The celebrations continued in the city below, but she needed silence. She looked up at the stars and thought about all the people who had never lived to see this day. All the generations that had suffered in the dark, never knowing why. We did it, she whispered. We came home. A small hand slipped into hers. She looked down and saw a child, no more than 6 years old, looking up at the sky with wonder. Are those the aliens? The child asked, pointing at the ships. Some of them, Jisoo said. Are they our friends? Jisoo knelt down so she was at the child's level. She looked into those young, innocent eyes and smiled. They are now, she said. And there will be more. From every corner of the galaxy. Because that's what humans do. We make friends. We build bridges. We never give up. The child nodded solemnly, as if understanding something important dawned above them. The sky was full of stars. And for the first time in 800 years, those stars were no longer cold and distant. They were full of possibility. They were waiting. And humanity, at last, was ready to meet them.